What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003 and starting to get very optimistic about this Pistons team. The Detroit Pistons waited until the buzzer of the deadline to make a move, but they did indeed make a move that will have a meaningful impact on the roster and team as we go forward and close out this year. The Detroit Pistons have acquired guard Dennis Schröder. In this video, we are going to go through. We're going to talk about him, his career, exactly how he got here, how the team will look with him, how they will use him, and towards the very end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts and grade for the trade. So, realistically, a lot went down, but the main takeaway here is that throughout the deadline, the Pistons are walking away with Dennis Schröder, Lindy Waters, and 2 second-round picks that they acquired. Throughout this trade deadline, they did take in KJ Martin and Josh Richardson. Both of them got rerouted in the Dennis Schröder trade. So if you expect to see those guys suiting up for the Pistons, I definitely wouldn't. And I also wouldn't hold your breath on Lindy Waters getting any meaningful minutes either. But Dennis Schröder for sure is here and will be playing. So what do we need to know about Dennis Schröder? If you have followed the NBA for a long time, you should be at least relatively familiar with him, as he has been a veteran in this league. He has been in the league for 10 years now or so and has played for a bunch of different teams. Also has spent many summers playing basketball with the national team of Germany, where he has been a star there as well. So I'm sure most of you guys are generally familiar with Dennis Schröder. But speaking about this year specifically, he started off the year with the Brooklyn Nets, where he was a part of a team that was supposed to be tanking, but due to his high-level play, they started the year way better than anyone predicted they would. The Brooklyn Nets got off to a relatively decent start versus their expectations, with Dennis Schröder averaging 18 points and 5 assists per game there, and then he got traded to the Golden State Warriors after about 20 games. He was sent to the Golden State Warriors for 4 second-round picks. So we got him for significantly less than what the Golden State Warriors traded for him just a couple months ago. Once he got to Golden State, he did not fit in with that team nearly as well as Golden State hoped. They, of course, have moved their roster around a bunch since that point in time, acquiring Jimmy Butler. So it's safe to say it just wasn't a good fit in Golden State. But I have no doubt in my mind that Dennis Schröder can actually help this Pistons team more than he was able to help the Golden State team, because he fills a need for us. That's the elephant in the room here. The Detroit Pistons have severely lacked secondary creation, backup ball handlers since Jaden Ivey has went down, and Dennis Schröder is very capable of being that. For his career, he has about averaged 5 assists per game to 2.5 turnovers or so. Realistically, a pretty solid turnover to assist ratio. Not the world's best playmaker, but he's definitely capable, especially in a backup role. And he's also been a decent scorer for his career. His three-point shooting is not exactly the best in the world, but it's serviceable. He's around a career 34% three-point shooter, and he's able to knock them down given the opportunity. So where do I think Dennis Schröder is going to fit in? I think right now he's probably just going to more or less take the role that Marcus Sasser has been put in as the backup point guard for Cade. I personally don't think we're going to see very many lineups that consist of both Dennis Schröder and Cade. I think Dennis Schröder is going to function more in that backup role to Cade, probably playing somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes a night, and the majority of those minutes will be minutes while Cade is on the bench taking a rest. Is there a world where Dennis Schröder does eventually play well and maybe closes some games with Cade on the floor next to him? Absolutely. Is there a world where JB Bickerstaff tries some lineups with both Dennis Schröder and Cade on the floor together in just the regular flow of the game to see how it looks? Yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't expect that to be something that sticks super, super hard and long term. But I do think there will be some experimenting with it. However, I do think the prevailing option and usage of Dennis Schröder probably will be more or less just simply a backup for Cade. So I kind of want to talk about the deadline as a whole. Coming into the deadline, I really wasn't in the camp of the Pistons needing to make a huge deal or go star hunting or anything like that. The fact of the matter is the Pistons are already way ahead of their expectations for this season. Our over-under for our wins has already been passed, and we're not even to all-star break as we sit at 25 wins. So I just didn't think it was the right time to go hunt for a star, especially somebody who was going to be a Band-Aid for Jaden Ivey. But my caveat to that was, if the Pistons wanted to go get somebody who was a Band-Aid for Jaden Ivey, just don't tie us up long term. And Dennis Schröder is not going to do that because he is on and expiring. At 31 years old, there is a chance that we do retain him during the offseason and bring him back. But to me, this just smells like a Jaden Ivey Band-Aid. Once Jaden Ivey gets back, I really don't think there's going to be that much of a need for Dennis Schröder. I think that he could potentially be useful as a bench guard, but we won't need him nearly as bad as long as we have Jaden Ivey back to be that secondary creator, that backup point guard, and everything in between as far as what Dennis is going to do. So I'm pretty ecstatic, really, with the way that the Pistons have operated this deadline. I really didn't want to see the Pistons push all their chips in on the table to go get somebody like Brandon Ingram or Julius Randle or Zach LaVine, just because I feel like it's super unnecessary and could potentially pigeonhole us in the future, where I just kind of wanted to get through this season safely, see where we end up, see where we wind up, hopefully get some playoff experience and move forward. Because right now, I have a lot of optimism about Cade. I have a lot of optimism about Jaden Ivey once he gets back. Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart. I think that you could potentially add to that, but I don't think it's something that we need to do right now, especially when you consider the fact that if they wanted to go all in for a swing like that, they probably have to move off of Ron Holland or Ausar or Jalen Duren. So I'm really happy that they more or less kept the entire team together throughout the deadline here and did exactly what I think is perfect. Just get a backup ball handler, a backup playmaker for Cade, so Marcus Sasser doesn't have to play as many minutes in that role that he isn't naturally a fit for. And you don't have to worry about him next season. If it doesn't work out, no worries. It's an expiring contract. You can wash your hands of him this summer and move on. If it does work out, great. It seems like a really, really low-risk, high-reward situation by acquiring Dennis Schröder here, and that's really all I was looking for them to do. I'm really relieved by the fact that they didn't take a big swing on anybody, just because I think that it's completely unnecessary. I think that we're already in a good spot, all things considered, and I would much rather maintain our long-term flexibility so that if the right trade or player comes along this summer or next year, we can make a move to get them. Because for me, with all the trades that went down, there's nobody who I feel like would have been the perfect pairing for Cade long term that was really getting dealt this deadline, especially for cheap. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go ahead and grade this trade and the entire trade deadline an A. That's pretty much exactly what I wanted to see the Pistons do. I know a lot of people had mentioned Lonzo Ball over the past couple days. I think Dennis Schröder is a more useful player in the year of 2025 than Lonzo Ball. So I was expecting a potential Lonzo Ball acquisition. Ended up with Dennis Schröder. That's pretty much exactly what I was hoping they would do. Not swing for the fences, but hit a base single that's a low risk, high reward. So I'm really happy with it. But let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch up soon.